Hey, folks, and welcome to Tuesday Coffee with a variety of guests. But today I'm with Greg Doud. Today is Tuesday, August 27th, 2024. And this is episode, I think, 942 of Living Free in Tennessee. And it's also on the live stream channel for selfreliancefestival.com. I don't know if Greg is streaming to his YouTube or not, but he's like looking to see if he can, just so everybody knows. We're going to talk a bit about Greg's story because he's been coming to Self-Reliance Festival and he had an epiphany last October. And now we're almost a year later. So we're going to see how he's done since then and talk about whatever else we want to talk about. He and I were just talking before this for about 10 minutes just about running businesses and things like that. So if you have questions as we go, like throw them in the comments, use the word question in all caps. Before we hop into that, though, I do want to talk about our featured event of today's show, and that's the Self-Reliance Festival in Camden, Tennessee. The Self-Reliance Festival is a melding of the homesteading and prepper movement, which is a natural fit. A lot of times people get into homesteading because they want to connect with their food and they want to make their properties productive, but they don't think so much about, like, what if stuff goes wrong and how do I protect? And on the other side, a lot of people come into the prepper network thinking, okay, I have to store food and I need to have self-defense in order, but they don't think about, like, how do you replenish that food once you've used it up? So bringing those two things together has created a great event. And the best thing about Self-Reliance Festival is it attracts people who are either ready to change their lives, but not quite sure how, or they're doers, not takers. Anytime somebody comes there who's sort of a leech, they have a tendency to not want to stay. We'll just put it that way. It's not that anybody comes out and says leave. They just, like, everybody expects you to do something. They're asking questions. What are you going to do next? That sort of thing. And in that environment, it creates a wonderful place for people to figure out tangible next steps to build a better life. That festival is coming up October 5th and 6th in Camden, Tennessee at Special Operations Equipment. You can get more information at selfreliancefestival.com, but tickets are $75 through the end of the month, actually through midnight, like the end of the day, 11:59 p.m. really, on September 1st. And then they'll pop up to $95. So check that out, selfreliancefestival.com. I also want to thank two sponsors today. The first sponsor I want to thank is agoristtaxadvice.com. Matthew Sursley has put together a wonderful business where he combines a lot of his knowledge in the legal world in different jobs that he's had to bring to bear to us. And what he does is he works with you to analyze how you're structured financially, and then suggests ways that you might want to change your structure so you can take advantage of the tax code. And then he talks you through different tax write-offs you can take advantage of, how to document it, and any risks associated with that so you can keep more of your money in your pocket. Find out more at agoristtaxadvice.com. Our second sponsor of today's show is also about money. It's John Pugliano of the Wealth Studying Podcast. John's been doing his podcast for years, but he's also been very active in our network, and he's an all-around good guy. You can just walk up to him and ask him questions if you see him at an event or so. And his podcast starts out, if you go back to some of the early episodes, with his principles of investing, which, if you are like, I don't have any money to invest, go check those out, because those principles are also good principles for creating wealth in your life. In fact, before John became a wealth manager or a money manager, he decided he needed to make his first million for himself of liquid money before he felt like he could advise people on what to do with their money. And he talks about that in his podcast. It's called the Wealth Studying Podcast, like homesteading, only wealth studying. So check that out at investablewealth.com. Click on podcast. You can find out more, or you can download it to any podcatcher. And then with that, I am going to welcome Greg to the show. Greg, how you doing?
Hey, Nicole. Thank you so much for having me on to talk to your audience today.
I'm super excited about your story, and I'm super excited to see you at Self-Reliance Festival in a few weeks.
I'll be there.
Yeah, I saw that. So, yeah, you've got what's your shirt say?
Oh, it says, "This is what I do. I grow a beard and I know things."
Yeah, I'm unvaxxed and overtaxed in California. We'll see how that one plays.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah,
Cali.
I don't know. I'm probably not wearing it to the funeral home after this, but other than that, I don't mind wearing the t-shirt. I think I might put a dress on for the funeral home.
Yeah.
That is how it goes. Anyway, so How many Self-Reliance festivals have you been to?
I haven't been to all of them, but I think I came to like one of the first ones you guys put on. And then I think you guys started to go to like fall and spring.
Did you come to
And
the February one, the winter one?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think I came to like one of the first ones and maybe the second one, and
Mhm.
then I skipped some, and then you guys started to do them like spring and
Predictably.
fall, and then I just started, and I'll tell you, it is the thing that I'm gonna do. Like I love going to that thing, Self Reliance Festival. I had been to a bunch of different conferences, and you know, back in like 2018, I think I went to the Libertarian National Convention down in New Orleans, and like have done, Anarchadelphia in 2019, and I went to Anarchapulco in 2020. And, a lot, those conferences are great and being able to meet people and learn new things. But I think what's very unique about the Self Reliance Festival is the practical skills and the networking that you do with people, and people that are going to challenge you to, step up your game in life and figure out how you can, instead of saying that, uh, interviewing Tim, the tool man in his workshop, that having that poverty mindset, saying that I can't do this, and there's no way for me to get to this point. Instead of saying that, say how can I? And there's a lot of people there that are those type of folks with that are working to get themselves in a better position in life. So uh the practicalness of it, and the skills that are shown, and the folks that have that mindset is totally worth it. And I think maybe a lot of folks that are in our community and maybe in doing homesteading, I know myself, I'm a naturally introverted person, and get a little bit anxious when it comes to going and being around a lot of different people. But uh I would challenge you, if you're one of those people, to get out there and go to one of these, and meet some other like-minded people. You'll find that you have a lot of things that you can talk about with these folks, because you can get into some deep conversations with the people there.
That's true. I think there's a high quotient of introvert there, although we have a number of extroverts too. But nobody's like gonna follow you around and say like, "Why are you walking alone in the woods? Are
Yeah.
you okay?"
Yeah.
Like so as an introvert, you can be like, "I'm just gonna go over there," and people are like, "Okay, go over there."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So
that's great.
yeah, I think the strategy as an introvert there is do get out of your comfort zone. If you want to change your life, get out of your comfort zone and make it a point that you're going to ask 3 people a day about like who they are, why they're there, where they came from, what they wanted to get out of the event, like and how, like just once you start asking those questions, you'll start hearing the story. They'll probably ask you questions back. Do it 3 times, and other than that, introvert away. If you don't want to talk to people, don't talk to people. But getting out of your comfort zone is, I think, an important step to changing your life.
Yeah, that's where the growth comes from,
Yeah.
I think.
Oh,
Yeah, you're not
go
gonna
ahead.
grow. Yeah, you're not gonna grow. If you're always stationary and not pushing yourself. So the
Yeah, so let's
growth.
go back. Let's go back to last year, though. We got to tell people what happened. So Greg was at Self Reliance Festival. John Willis was doing a Q&A session, which we have him do at every event. And we struggle with what to call it because we don't know what's going to come out at that, right? It's based on the spirit of the participants. And what's on the participants' minds is totally different every time. And so I tend to put it a little bit later into the event so people have had a chance to break the ice with each other so that they're not afraid to ask him questions. And then they ask him questions. And one time, all we talked about was how to raise rabbits. Because the thing is, John knows, like, he knows about how you can change your life. He knows about how you can run business. And he does know how you can raise rabbits and do a whole bunch of other homesteading stuff. So there you were in the back of the room. You asked a question. What made you get out of your comfort zone and ask that question, and then what happened next?
Yeah. So I guess coming to that event, I had, looking back on it now, I think that I felt a little bit stuck where I was in life and feeling like, a lot of the negative kind of thoughts kind of going through my head about where I was in my life and not making very much progress and toward my goals and achieving my goals and things like that. And so I I remember talking to you. We had talked in the past and talking about, I really like to get some thoughts from John, but I'm scared because I know he's gonna call me out on my bullshit. And I, you know, was just in such a position that I know that I'm working towards something that can benefit others, but I had black pilled myself, I believe. I had I had a lot of these negative feelings and things, and was a little bit stagnant in my life. And uh at that point I was 40 pounds heavier, and um y- had just got back from a buddy's bachelor party and going to New Orleans kind of on the the hedonism kind of thing, lots of drinking, lots of,
Bachelor party stuff.
bachelor party stuff. so
Yeah.
so I was wanting to move in a different direction deep down and just seeking some guidance on that. And I've been watching John's shorts and his videos and him talking and getting up early in the morning and just saying, like, what are your excuses? Why do stop making excuses for yourself? Like, do something to make yourself better. The things that like fitness is free, and how, you know if you want to achieve something, you gotta push yourself. And I'd been watching those things, and I was just, asking him the question, like, had you come into times in your life where you were, having some negative thoughts and feelings, and how did you push through that? And, he put it back on me, and uh, was basically telling me that I'm bored in my life. What, you're not challenging yourself. And his story, he told me his story. I think he said something like, you ever been to prison? And I was like, no, I've never been to prison. He was like, well, we'll put you in prison. You have a whole different attitude towards life, being outside of prison. so, so gratitude for, having some gratitude for where you're at in your life, um, is important. And so, yeah, John laid a challenge down on me. He's like, why don't you start something, start all the social medias, get that, get a name for that, get a website going, or you can sit back down and do nothing. And kind of threw that challenge down on me. And I guess I am the kind of type of person where if somebody is gonna tell me I can't do something, I'm gonna want to show it I can do it. Um, that that so he gave the right pressure, let's say, in throwing that challenge down to me. And from that point forward, after leaving Self Reliance Festival, I think that right at that moment, I had started setting up different social media accounts. He put me on the spot to come up with a name. I had given him a name of Take the Ride, and I had started creating all those social media accounts. Went on GoDaddy, found domain, started a website through Squarespace, and started this journey of going on this journey to work on myself, and starting to daily do calisthenic exercises. And I had no idea what I was doing in the beginning, and just looking up YouTube videos on basic beginner calisthenics. And I did have a I guess a personal trainer, online personal trainer, for a little while, and he had set me up with this high intensity interval training type workouts before, and those were being effective for me at the time. So, and I have worked out in the past doing weight training, things like that. And so, yeah, I just started from there. Just didn't know what I was doing. Just looked up some beginner calisthenic workout videos. And the first day I just did a walk and said, "Hey, I'm doing this thing." And from that point forward, I started doing these like 20-minute calisthenic workouts based on these YouTube videos. And I remember like some of the first ones I posted, some people were commenting like, "Man, uh, it sounds like you're about to have a heart attack or something
You're
like
like, I
that."
feel like I'm going to have a heart attack.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I mean, looking at where I started there, I could not even do a full body squat. Like, that was really sad. Like, I couldn't even, get into a deep full body squat. Like, the most I could go is like not even to 90. So it was like pretty pathetic. And yeah, looking back, I was being real lame. And and the thing that, I've been learning along this way is that is that the best way to deal with those feelings is to exercise, because you're going to get a lot of positive chemicals like released during that thing. So if you're dealing with like heavy stress and negative kind of feelings, like, I think that's your body telling you need to move.
Yeah. So yesterday was a hard day. And by about 4 p.m., both my mom and me were like, ugh. So we went to the pool and swam for about 10, 15 minutes. And, like that doesn't instantly fix everything, but you're like, okay, but now I'm ready to take on the next challenge. It's amazing how it's like that
Absolutely.
big eraser, right?
Yeah, it really does work like that. And a lot of the negativity you can pour out into that exercise as well. And like you know, thinking about what one of the things that John was saying was, let me chase you around with a tractor, and you're not going to have so many negative feelings. You're going to be thinking about how you're going to survive, so
Don't get run over by the tractor. Wait, so at this SRF, are we chasing you with a tractor? Is that what's happening?
I don't know if I would want to do that. I still can't run. I have a pretty bad ankle injury, so in a lot of those videos, you see me doing a lot of just body weight movements. Nothing like I will do some cardio stuff like jumping jacks and high knee stuff. But yeah, I kind of messed up my ankle. And in fact, in one of those workout videos, you see me going for a sprint. And that was a bad idea because I really screwed up my ankle after that.
Oh yeah, you have
Um,
to be careful. Like when you're working out, there are some things that happen with your body that, like, same thing. I have trouble jumping and running uh, with ankles and knees.
yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? Walking fast is fine. And if I have to run, I can run for a short distance. But if running 5 miles at a sprint with somebody after me is the answer, it's very possible that I'm going to fail that one if I don't have a way to get myself out differently, right? In a
Hmm.
in an escape situation. But you don't need to be causing an ongoing long-term injury that keeps you from working out is by pushing too far. So I find like the challenge with working out is like you got to push, because if you don't push a little further every time, you go backwards, right?
Yeah.
But if you overdo it, which is why I have these injuries that kind of pop up anyway, then you do something like trip over your bar and almost break your ankle, which is actually worse than breaking your ankle, the almost part, because then it's like,
Yeah.
well, nothing we can do.
Yeah.
But your
Yeah.
tendons
Can't do
now hate
anything
you
for
on the
you.
right side of your body.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I've been working around different injuries. Like I went on bench press with started working out in a gym with a friend of mine, and started bench pressing and went way too heavy on that for the first time getting back into bench press, and I screwed up my shoulder, and it hasn't been that good since. So I've been laying off, like doing heavy bench press. And what does help though is like hanging from something kind of helps with that shoulder injury. But yeah, you get the injuries, and then you have to kind of figure out how to work around them but still push yourself. And so now it's become a daily thing. Like if I don't do it, like, I mean, if I don't do it, there is no not doing it. It's like I have to do it. So
How many days without breaking have you gone at this in your since last time you didn't do it on one day? Do you know?
what?
Do you know how many days simultaneously
Oh
you have
yeah,
worked
yeah,
out?
yeah,
Do you track
yeah.
that?
It's been every day since that last SRF.
How many days has that been?
316 so far.
316 days of working out every day, no matter what. Have you gotten sick during that time, like a cold or anything?
Mm, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. Has stuff happened that kept you from working out that then you worked out later anyway?
So I would attempt to do workouts like more toward the middle of the day, like on my lunch break. But the work at work where I work in prosthetics and orthotics, and we're building braces for kids that have disabilities and people that have missing limbs, building them prosthetics. And the work has like really increased, and we added another practitioner to the office that I work at, and so the volume of work has increased. And so going to work and keeping up with everything at work, um, has kept me from taking a longer lunch break. So I've had to shift to doing those workouts when I get off of work in the evenings. And so yeah, I'm tired a lot. Sometimes I'm not feeling it, and I'm not feeling it like I just want to like chill and just fall asleep or something. But I'm just like, nah, man, I gotta do
I've
it.
done 311 days. I'm going to do 312.
Yeah, yeah. It's just no, I think it's just a daily habit for me now. And it's just like I think I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast where he was talking to, I can't remember who he was talking to, but he was saying that your body didn't get this way overnight. And so it's going to take a lot of effort to reverse that. So just doing something every day and staying consistent, I think, is one of the big keys to, turning your physical shape and turning that into a better direction.
So how has it impacted like your network and other projects that you're working on at this point? You're almost a year in.
Yeah, so I have been working on some side stuff. I've been doing some side hustle stuff. Uh I farm sit for a friend of mine, and I've also been kicking off working with a buddy of mine as oh yeah, also has a YouTube channel. Shout out to Logan Hideaway Homestead. He's over helping me on a piece of property. We're building a cabin right now down there on my property so we can turn that property into a hip camp. So been dedicating Saturdays to pulling that off. I think we started in May and we're getting into September now, and we just finished some of the framing for the walls for that cabin. We're building on a slope. We're building this thing on a slope. It's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be like treehouse kind of thing. So I've been down there working on that kind of stuff. In one part in there, I did a solar installation. We installed like a 14 kilowatt solar power system at a friend of mine in Virginia's that I met on the internet, and with another buddy of mine that got me started in solar. We went out and did that project. So been doing some side hustle stuff. But I really don't know if I would have had the energy in the past to be able to accomplish some of those things if I hadn't started working on my fitness and getting after that. Because a lot of times I'd be like, get to the weekend, I'd just be so worn out just from the physicality of the job I'm doing and wanting to, spend that weekend to recover. So, so now, I have a lot more energy to get those things done. And, it's been good. It's been pretty busy, but, yeah, feeling better than I have been in a long time.
Yeah. Do you get negative thoughts still?
Yeah, of course. Like, but a lot of that I put into those workouts. And it really is kind of a fuel for maybe you want to hit, that new PR or whatever, and whatever exercise you're doing. And I feel like I can use that as a fuel to intensify those workouts. So yeah, you're going to have negative thoughts. I mean, it's not a cure all for everything to get into some kind of workout regimen and magically think that all your problems are going to disappear. But it, the, I've understand. This is what I understand now. You're going to suffer either way. You're going to suffer by not doing something and staying stagnant. And that, in a lot of ways, is worse because you're not fulfilling your potential. And you can suffer with a purpose towards building yourself into building yourself into a better person, becoming more of your potential. So, you're going to suffer either way. It's, getting into a workout is, a lot of times I dread it. I'm dreading it because it's going to suck.
And then are you ever in the middle of it? You're like, I hate this.
I just feel, you can just feel it in your body and like so sore and things like that. But it's like, it's just the feeling you get afterwards is such a good feeling. And that you've accomplished something positive for yourself.
We have some support groups on Telegram and other places where people connect online. And there have been some splinter groups off like the main for people who have specific things. And there's sort of the weight loss workout arm of that happens. There's a couple of different ones. And somebody will get on there and be like, I don't want to work out today. Should I go to the gym? I'm trying to motivate. And I always ask, have you ever gone to the gym and on the way out of the gym been like, man, I wish I hadn't done that? And no. I don't know about you, but I've never felt that way after a workout, but I've felt it all the way up until I finish. Like literally until I'm like, okay, I can go take a shower now.
Oh yeah. I do get like amped up. I have to amp myself up to get into it for sure. Cause it's the anticipation of getting in there and doing the work is what'll get to you. But once you're in it, once you're doing it, and after you get through it, it is like a mini, I guess it's a mini challenge to yourself, or it's like a mini like stress test to yourself that see if you can do this,
Yeah, well, I think it helps move your blood. That helps get rid of toxins, and like the physical really has a huge impact on the mental. And people are talking about that connection more now than they used to, but that's everything from how you move your body, what food you put in your body, like all of that has a huge impact. And so people who feel terrible, and then you're like, well, I see a lot of things that would make you feel terrible. And I've been that person. I still make decisions I shouldn't. I had French fries 3 days ago or 2 days ago on my way here.
Me too.
And I don't usually do that, but I was like, I'm just going to eat French fries. And I'm like, okay, now I feel like I ate French fries.
Yeah.
By the way, that's not keto or low carb, just for anybody in the.
Yeah, I do that too. Like, I can't resist a good donut every now and then too.
I can resist donuts now because they make me feel so bad.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's a certain day it's like, no, I don't want that donut, but it does look tasty. Like, I want to smell it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lazy Gardener says, choose your suffering. I like that. We like to say, choose your hard. Everything's hard. Choose your hard. I
Yeah.
worked with a guy for years in executive, like strategic planning, marketing development, and we would bring teams over 3 days through a whole series of activities and questions to just hone in on their most important message and direction. And people always were like, why should I invest this time and this money in this? And it's very hard for them to understand at the beginning until you get to the end of the thing, right? It's like Self-Reliance Festival. It's hard to explain to people who've never been why it's different than most events. It's going to change you in different ways, especially if you go there ready, like with an open mind. And at the end, he would give everybody a sticker that said, do hard things, because even though it was like basically 3 days of talking and doing activities, which is not hard work, but it was hard mental work. And if you spend that time in the beginning of a project or a business, you get way further down the road, even though it's hard, rather than if you go through all the we don't have the right message bullshit for the next like 3 or 4 years until you get to that point. He's like, do hard things. You can do hard things now, like work out every day and have, a better situation, or you can end up diabetic and overweight and all this other stuff and then have to deal with it then, but you're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's really the crux of it, and looking at the world that we're living in now, I think it's more important than ever to get yourself in the best physical shape that you can, because, the times ahead could be very difficult, in my opinion. And, not to be a doomsayer or anything like that, but you look at all these problems that are happening in the world, but what can you affect? You can affect the things that you're doing. Do you want to be an asset or a liability to the people around you? So it's in your best interest, I think, to become the best version of yourself as possible. And if all the things in the world that you can't change, the one thing you can have a big impact on is yourself, and what you're going to do on a daily basis to get yourself in a good position physically. So, and I think that does have a bleed effect on the folks around you. I've noticed that I have in some ways inspired some other people around me to get going on their own thing. My buddy just was letting me know the other day that he signed up to do a 10K. So
Sweet.
yeah, so he's getting into it as well. So, and then one of my other buddies was getting on doing the carnivore. And then I've got a good buddy that I go to the gym with every Friday. So, it's well worth it. It's well worth it to do that investment. And I really think, like, getting into kind of a spiritual thing too. Like, I do believe that we're part of you can get kind of nihilistic, and you can get kind of black pilled, right? Like, and go down that nihilistic path or whatever. Like, what's the meaning to all this, and what's the meaning to this existence? But I really think, like, part of why we're here in this existence is so that we can grow as individuals, and become the best versions of ourselves, so we can give that away to other people, I think.
Yeah. Hey, Alabama says, one thing I tell people to do is get down on the floor and get up. Do it from the left, the right. It's strengthening the muscles you need to get up off the floor. And then learn how to do it without pushing up, right? Like you can get up from just your, like my mom does that. She's in her
Yeah.
70s. She's like, I'm going to get up without using my hands, you know? Maybe
Yeah.
not right
Yeah.
now. She hurt her knee, but
Yeah. That mobility is so important. And I, you know, just the deep squat thing. Like I was watching some videos of these guys talking about a lot of people can't get into a deep squat, which is like, you know, you're you're down and you're like kind of like sitting like and squatting. It's like the Slav squat, you know, if you've ever seen like the Russians or whatever, like kneel like, you know, sitting down pretty much like in a position smoking a cigarette. And apparently that was so because they didn't have any park benches or anything like that. So they they got into that squatting position. But yeah, that deep squat, I know I couldn't do it when I first started. And so yeah, just having that mobility and that strength is really important just for being able to, you know, move around and get around doing things.
okay. So as a content creator, like what challenges have come up this year that you've been like, I got to figure out how to do this?
Yeah, so I've been playing around with doing things on CapCut. Like I guess I started off with the videos I was making were just pretty. I mean, they were pretty garbage for the workout videos. I was just like, I think I had an older little video editor on my phone, like Filmora or something. Somebody told me about CapCut. I started using CapCut to just edit down to a real short, like 1 minute video, then throwing some music in behind it for the workout videos. But yeah, when I was first putting out those workout videos, they were like 20 minutes long or whatever, showing the full like spectrum of the workout. And it's like, you know, that's a huge file for one to put that out like that. So that's it kind of a little bit unmanageable as far as file size. And then you know, it's just me grunting, maybe throwing in a fart here and there or something like that. But so then I started to use the photo editor and just taking and condensing it down to a minute long short and throwing it up on social media. And that CapCut program has helped out a lot with that. And then yeah, I do podcasts, I do live streams like we're doing right now. And recently, I think from the last SRF, I think I was talking to I think AJ Harrison. He was just like, man, just get StreamYard. It makes it a lot easier and stuff. And you can you have like a lot more capability to step up your game. Invested in a better camera. Um, and yeah, just kind of upgrading things. And um, yeah, started getting together with a couple other guys in our Freedom Cell group that have one of the guys has his own YouTube channel, and then the other guy, he's been doing regenerative beef, and he's got a small herd of his own cattle. And so we started getting together on Sundays and doing a live stream, just talking about challenges of getting started on your homestead, and you know, some ideas, some lessons learned that we've gone through getting getting some things going, growing food, and attempting to be more self-reliant ourselves in what we're doing. So
Yeah. How's the Freedom Cell going?
Freedom Cell is going good. We still do our monthly. We do a meeting every month on the first Wednesday of the month at a local makerspace. Um, like I said, I don't know if we were talking about this earlier, but one of my weaknesses is in organization. So I am kind of the reluctant guy that keeps things moving in our local Freedom Cell group. And a lot of times I'm not so organized about getting like topics together, or you know, having a focus or an agenda for our meetings. So a lot of time that's something that we're struggling with. Remember one of our recent meetings, one of the folks that comes, you know, she was kind of offering to maybe help out with a little bit of organization. And I was like, I can use all the help I can get, you know? So But yeah, they've been going good. You know, we've got a good crew of folks that show up to those, and
What area of the country is that in?
that's in northern Alabama and around the city of Huntsville.
There you go,
So,
guys. There's a Huntsville group.
yep, and yep, we meet on the first Wednesday of the month around 6 p.m. at night, and last one we did was focused on uh, focused on like a Shark Tank, like a pitch your business idea, and we'll give you feedback on it. And we actually kind of got distracted getting into talking about starting a church, uh, which is a legitimate thing that you can do is start your own like ministry kind of thing, because I
You
feel like
you mean for legal protections, not necessarily to worship God, right? Like using the church structure.
yeah, you're using like the church structure, and being able to have some more legal protections on just well, I mean, it can legitimately be a
A
personal
ministry.
ministry of
Yeah.
yours with the goal of helping your fellow man, because because I feel like a lot of the churches now, I was raised Catholic, and I feel like a lot of what's in the church now is more of a social club than doing very like real things that can help their fellow man. And I feel like that has been because of their relationship of their, I guess, tax status with the government, and has done a lot. I mean, you look at what happened during the whole the COOF thing,
Yeah.
and how they responded to that, and just kind of went along with that. Where, I think that I think the church has really lost a lot of men in that regard, because you're not seeing anybody take a stand for something. And so, while I do think it's good to like get together with people that are like-minded and want to better themselves and better their communities, I feel like they've kind of become more of a social club than actually doing the real work of helping each other. Which is why I ran into the Bear Independent through you guys, and
Yeah.
I really love that guy, because he's walking the walk, and that he's talking too.
Well,
So
he's walking the walk, and if you don't join his religious side, that
yeah,
doesn't matter to him because he's just like people. I'm helping people, right?
absolutely.
And that's an important thing to like. It's not necessarily that you put stipulations on something. We're having a roundtable, so I'm going to start rolling out the roundtable discussions at SRF next week that we're having, because this week we're talking about the kids program, and we're actually announcing speakers and vendors and all sorts of stuff. Uh, and we got the demonstrations up, although I still can add demonstrations to the agenda, but I wanted to make sure people knew all the cool stuff they could see there. So Alan Booker, you know him, right?
Yeah, I know Alan.
Yeah. So he's been working with a team on the church concept
Yep,
and like
that's
how that
yeah.
interacts with PMAs. And he's like, I don't have the answers. I'm not looking to sell a course that you have to sign up for to learn how to do this, but it's a topic we should be talking about in our network. And I said, well, do you want to do a presentation on that? He's like, because everybody I talk to about this is like, I'm not the expert, And Alan in particular is going to have to be PhD level ready before he gives any presentation on that. I'm like, well, how about you host a roundtable discussion on this? And we've got some other people who do PMAs, like who use the PMA structure, right? Private Ministry Association guys, not membership, although we also have PMA private membership associations. Why don't you guys sit down and talk about what you've learned, and like people can participate in that and ask questions, and it's not legal advice, but it starts getting people moving in that direction. So we're going to have that's one of my like that one, and we're doing a Bitcoin breakout with Jack. Very excited about the roundtable discussions that are happening, and those will happen in the garage space because I pulled all programming out of the garage space just because people have a little trouble finding it necessarily. So I didn't want to have like agenda presentations there, but it's perfect. Like from the way it's set up, you can have a great roundtable discussion there.
That'd be awesome because we really gotta figure out a way. Well, I mean, we are so independent minded as liberty minded people, but there's a lot more strength in community and teaming up together. And looking at the way things are going in the world, we're really going to need each other. So I believe so. Figuring out whatever way we can to make that work, more efficiently and to have some protections. Like we really need to be the warriors in the garden, not a gardener in a war.
Right. And that's a hard mental change to make. If you're not already that, which I am the person who's not already that, right? Like I am willing, there I go. I am willing to stand up for things and I do. But I'm also more of a cultivator than anything. And that's, that frustrates people around me. I'm like, listen, this is what I'm good at, but we can use this if we work together. But if I'm just doing this alone, what's going to happen is I'm going to cultivate. And sometimes to my own detriment, as a matter of fact. So yeah, Wendy Homestead said that would be a great roundtable discussion. It's not would be, it is going to be a great conversation. And I think I have the head of another PMA in Tennessee coming, but it's not 100% confirmed, which will make the conversation a better conversation for people who've actually taken those steps. And I know like Louise Milliman, who's been there, has also set up a PMA, but she's like, I can't really talk about it. Like I paid a lawyer to do this. We're just at the beginning. We don't know, we just know what we did to this point.
Right. Yeah. It's really good. So the solutions that what we're talking about here is like, I don't know. I had run across guys talking about this when I went to Anarchapulco in 2020. And I felt like, wow, this is like probably the most important information we could be talking about as a community. And, it's just a small presentation by one of the guys that came there in one of the corner rooms or whatever. So, I think it is a pretty big, it is a pretty big tool that we could be utilizing and learn. We need to learn more about it for sure.
Well, we have to do the hard work, right? It's more hard work. We have to do the hard work of actually learning about it, even though we're not lawyers or accountants or any of that. Because if you're going to go into a business structure, you need to understand why you're doing it. Like, of course, I worked with lawyers to structure Nicole Sauce Industries, but I had to go into why. And at this point, I'm in a new reevaluation based on what has changed in my business to make sure I'm actually still structured the way I should be. And to do that, I have to be like, okay, I see why you're advising that, but help me understand what the alternatives are and that sort of thing. So.
Right. Yeah. And everybody's got their different gifts and just another great thing about the SRF is that, you look into the past of a lot of people struggling to find their freedom in the world, and you look at some of the atrocities that have happened in the past, and I feel like if you're not aware that you need to have a defensive mindset on things, like you're not really looking at history. And so I do really appreciate that about the things that you guys discuss at SRF is to have that kind of like, you need to be a warrior and, be prepared in a lot of different ways.
Also, numbers make a difference, right?
Yeah.
Like we were talking before this about, I am actually going to share this online, about how much of my time different projects take. And Self-Reliance Festival absorbs 30% of my year. That's the whole year. That's what is that? That's more than 3 months, right?
Yeah.
It's 4 months of my year. And the amount of income I get from that is, well, I'm generously 5%, probably less. Actually am, I'll have a better handle on that number because I've sort of changed how we're tracking to be more automated for this year. But let's just say 5% generously. And that is actually not a good use of my time.
Right.
Um, and holler roast takes 20% of my time and generates 60% of my income. So the obvious thing I should do for my own success is double that to 40, or maybe 50% of my time goes into holler roast and cut Self-Reliance Festival completely. That's what makes sense. The problem is the intangible payoff for everybody in our community of Self-Reliance Festival. It's not a monetary thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like that, keeping the community together, and the connections that are made, and people, like the waist size alone of the people who attend Self-Reliance Festival who are coming year after year has gone down, and the fitness level up, right?
Yeah.
And and that may not seem like a way to measure things, but that means we are healthier as a community physically. We've a lot of people have taken on some really tough mental health challenges, which not every network will talk about, but we do. People have started businesses and built them, and they're now helping other people build it. So like the culture of a hand up to those around you pervades throughout, and it's that benefit that's kept me doing it all these years, right?
Yeah.
So, it's always tough to navigate that, but if we don't invest in our community, then it will go away.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very true. Yeah. The benefits are so great for that event that you put on. And, I'm very grateful to have gone, go to these, and then all the people that I meet, and to know folks like yourself, and get to, talk to folks like John that's, been in business for so long and has all these, tips and things for folks, and, all the people that are there that are, you know, pushing themselves to get into different businesses, and the things that they can share with you, and the knowledge that you can gain with them. I mean, it really is like, I was thinking about this the other day. It's like when you inspire other people, you may not even you may not ever meet these people, but their inspiration will push them to leaving the world in a better situation, I believe. Like working on yourself is going to have like a ripple effect impact on all the people around you.
Even if you don't tell the story like Greg and I do on social media, people are going to see you change and ask you questions. And if you do tell it on social media, more people are going to see you and ask you questions. And other people are going to call you a poopy head. They're going to be like, you can't do that, or you're super fat, or you're an ugly bee, or whatever it is, right? They'll make all sorts of assumptions about you. And I actually find being ridiculed has helped me mentally, as part of like the last, I don't know, I'm almost, what am I, 8 or 9 years in? I am, yeah, I'm 8 years in on being more of an online personality, and I've been called lots of things. And the more I get called things, the less I care about what I'm called. Like if Greg called me something, I'd probably care more because I know who you are, and we're friends, and that sort of thing. But like some random dude on the internet upset because I had one guy get on my YouTube and get really mad because he thought I was gay. And he like assaulted, he was like, no Christian should watch this, blah blah blah, like went off on the whole thing. And I was like, okay, so I understand why you thought I was gay, because I was telling a hypothetical story about, do you want to prioritize spending time with your wife on the beach, or do you want to prioritize this other thing, right? Because I think it's important to invest in family. That's why I'm here. and not in the holler right now, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that's a choice I've made, because some people think they're going to invest in their business at the cost of being able to do things like I'm doing now. Um, because I've made this choice, I make less money.
Right.
But I'm like, but I'm happy with this choice. So I was kind of talking about that. And I think the reason I chose the word wife is there were a lot more men in the audience. So I was trying to send them to a place in their head where it's like, are you going to workaholic and not spend any time on your relationship? Or are you going to find a balance where the whole household is becoming more productive together because you invest in each other and you work towards a shared goal? That's basically what my talk is about, right? All the time. Um, and the guy just went off. And I was like, why is he going off on? And also, do I need somebody who's that reactive following me? Not really.
Yeah.
Like, that's not who I need to talk to. That
Yeah.
person is so reactive to what some stranger on the internet says that they're clearly not building their life, right?
Yeah,
I don't have time
exactly.
for
That's
that. So, like, every time you get another person going after you because you're fat or
you know you're
ugly.
doing something right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I remember when that would upset me, though. And the
Yeah.
skill of being able to block that off, actually what that is you're better at setting boundaries, because none of what somebody says about you behind your back really matters. It's kind of like when people tell me things that have secret meanings, like they're trying to subtly tell me that blah, 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 and I need to read into it to get that. And when you read into things, you can get lots of different answers, right?
Yeah.
I made a decision about 5 years ago that if somebody's doing that, I'm going to take the best possible thing that they could mean or take them at their word. And if what they meant was something else and I was supposed to read into it, that's on them. But it doesn't do me any good to take on did they mean this? Are they intending that? Like, all of that time trying to read into what somebody else says is wasted.
Yeah, and you don't really get. I bet the person that sends those comments would never come up to you in real life and tell that to your face.
Nicole, you're ugly. I'm like, okay, but as a person, I'm kind of cool. So,
Yeah.
so do
I
I
mean,
care? Not really.
yeah, a lot of people, they get to hide behind, they don't put their real face on their social media or whatever. They get to hide behind that in the comments or whatever. So, but if you were to meet them in real life, they probably never would ever try to say anything nasty straight to your face.
Yeah, well, and people won't tell me things straight to my face that I do need to hear, right? Because
Yeah.
I think they're afraid of hurting my feelings. And I'd rather just be maybe don't call me out in front of everybody. I make mistakes. I need to be called out. I need to be called on my BS. And it's a very few people who are willing to do that.
Yeah.
But, if you want to, like, hey, Nicole, can we go for a walk? And tell me, this is doing that. I'm going to probably take that on, especially if you've bothered to get to know me in person. If you're a random stranger on the internet sending me a judgmental email, I'm like,
Yeah.
you're asking me to do something that's counter to the entire purpose of what I'm doing. So probably not.
There's a lot less weight for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so that goes back to the first thing you said is if you love somebody, unpleasant truths have to be shared.
Yeah, yeah, that was one of the guys that John suggested to me is that this guy Wes Watson. I guess he did a lot of time in prison and spent a lot of time working on himself. But yeah, I think one of the things that he says is that love is not lies. You don't
Yeah.
lie to a person to keep them comfortable in
That's
there.
actually the most important thing I'm taking out of today's conversation is love is not lies.
Yeah, a lot of times telling somebody straight up the truth about their situation is the best thing. Is going to be the best thing for them. They may not appreciate it at the time and might not like you for a little while, but you know, probably the best thing they could have heard in their life.
Yeah, 100%. All
Yep.
right. Well, we're getting on towards an hour. And unfortunately, today I have some other things right after this. So why don't you tell people how they can connect with you and say anything else you want to say, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, well, if you guys want to follow along with the fitness journey, you can go check out Take the Ride 23. I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm on YouTube, and also on X. Take the Ride 23 at all those places. I do have a website that I'm figuring out how to what things I can offer people, but and I also have another YouTube channel called the Tinker Tribe, where I do interviews with folks and I do content about things that are on my mind, things that I'm working on, self-reliance. So you can go check that out at the Tinker Tribe on YouTube as well. Uh, so yeah, that's about all I got going on. If you're coming out to SRF, I'll see you guys out at SRF, and really am so thankful and grateful to be able to come on with you today, Nicole, and share that story with your audience.
Awesome, guys. Okay, so if you want to talk to Greg in person at Self Reliance Festival, get your tickets at selfreliancefestival.com. And I'm going to say something. Greg told me he was afraid to talk to John because he knew he was going to call him on his bullshit, right?
Yep.
So he did it anyway. He went out of his comfort zone, asked a very vulnerable question, which is basically, how do I deal with negative thoughts? And I remember watching John answer this, where he was just like, he was about to lay into him. You could see it, like, oh, the punch is coming. And he was like, and he did this. And he's like, man, I don't know how to answer that because I don't have those feelings. And then he went into it was critical, it was tangible. And he asked him some more questions, like, what do you do? And he's like, man, that's a great job, right? Like making prosthetics for kids who've lost a limb or have some other issue. Like, what better answer to a question, what do you do, than are you going to have? Like, that you're helping kids. Like, it's really awesome. And that only happened because he was willing to be vulnerable. And I know people come and they're like, Nicole is asking us a question and then she's going to call me out, which is totally going to happen. It happens every event. It happens to John every event. Spirko will be there. It will happen with Spirko. Bear will be there. It will happen with Bear. That's kind of how we choose some of our speakers, is people who are willing to say the hard things. But when you're willing to expose yourself to that, and when you're willing to maybe, even though you don't like being the center of attention, be the center of attention for a second, if you can also take on the message, that could be the difference between you take the next step and the step after that and not taking the first step. It can be the thing that motivates you. And watching somebody else do it can be the thing that motivates you too, which is part of why that's been an integral part of the event. So definitely, if you've got that weekend free, come on out. And if you don't have it free, make it free if you're ready to change where you're going. Greg, thanks so much for being on. I hope to have another conversation with you soon in the future about something totally different, because you're doing all sorts of interesting things. And I'll see you in October, guys. If you like the show and want to support the work I'm doing here, get your coffee at Hollow Roast. I'm drinking it from a mug at my mom's house today. Or get your tickets to Self Reliance Festival at selfreliancefestival.com. With that, go out, make it a great week.